Boop, 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 boop. It's been doing this for a week.
Oh, because it was in sleep?
It hasn't, because I had to do Mass Effect the day after we did recording last time.
Ah, okay. So, I was going to say, we did find the menu, so there's actually good options.
Yeah, by the way, the menu is kind of incredible. So that's the backlog button. It was square for the menu. There's a bunch of... There's also a quick save button. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
You can check control settings. But yeah, you can adjust all your stuff.
Was that on start? No, that was not on start.
That was... Oh, was option the quick save?
Well, that is start.
Okay.
The options doesn't mean anything.
Ah, okay.
It's gonna be over here.
Yeah, there we go.
Quick save was on...
Text
it is on
advance,
options.
mode panel, okay. Yeah, fast forward, rewind, in case we click through too fast.
Obviously the backlog thing, so there's all kinds of...
Yeah, some nifty stuff. Good visual novel.
They've also got a dedicated button to advanced text that's not also the confirm button. Which is interesting.
I mean, yeah, why not?
And also they have mouse controls.
Yeah.
In case you want to use a mouse on your PS4.
I believe a PC version was announced. We're still waiting on it, as far as I know.
But then they've got like all these options for like
text outline, speed,
you've got like
character bios.
Yeah. So hey, we know what Alice looks like now.
Yeah.
We haven't actually met her yet, but we know what she looks like.
And you can turn individual voices off for some reason.
Or
just raise and lower them.
Yeah, change their volume relative to each other.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I didn't notice when we were in the game last time, but they are also spelling Yamashiro's name without the H.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's Yamashiro.
Yeah, Sojiro is like Shizuki, but they're spelling it Shizuki.
Yeah, it is Shizuki. That should be Sojiro JW, not JYU.
Yeah, two
but
U's.
Like, they're using a different localization method. They're using like the ones that Japanese use for themselves, as opposed to the ones that everybody else uses. It's the exact same way that Artoria ended up being Altria instead of Artoria.
That makes sense.
Is Japan insisting that their way of Romanizing things is the correct way of Romanizing things, even when it's not?
Yeah.
Well, because, like, what you've done there is change this man's name to Sojiro Shizuki, not Sojiro Shizuki, which is what you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like, I understand where you're coming from, but you've kind of ruined the reading on this side of the on this side of the pond.
This just isn't how English actually works, guys.
Also, comments. So following up on some stuff from last week, Zed pointed something out that I don't think either of us noticed, or if we did, neither of us kind of spoke on it, which is that it's very likely that the girl in the opening was not actually Aoko.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Well, because that was set 7 years before the current event, or 8 years before the current event, so that would have been like 1980, and the person we were following was ostensibly old enough to drive.
The little girl who found the dead cat?
Well, she was going out there to start the car.
Maybe? I don't know if they could drive or if it was just literally turn the key on so the car starts warming up.
So if it's possible that they were the one that was, driving, that was meant to be driving, then it's most likely that it was Toko, not Aoko,
that could be the case.
Person in the opening there.
I think they're close enough in age where neither of them would actually be driving, but it could be Toko in the opening.
I know, like, Aoko definitely would have been, like, 9 at the time.
Yeah, we'll see. See if they reference the event as we go forward.
I mean, they also refused to actually name the person in the opening.
Exactly.
Which is the other thing that, like, when I saw that, I'm like,
hell.
that's kind of sus if you're just going to introduce Aoko immediately anyway.
Right.
So that feels like one of those setups where, like, you think it's Aoko, but then is later revealed to have not been her in the first place.
Yeah, we'll see where they go with it, but definitely something to look out for.
So anyway, at the brand new train station in Misaki...
Yes, it's all new.
Once, looking no prettier than an abandoned factory, it had been renovated into a multi-purpose structure with huge department stores on its east and west sides.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good shopping district, actually.
I'm not seeing the train station, though.
I think the station's
By the
behind
way,
now.
I love the shop on the left that just sells beans.
Yes.
Hi, welcome to Beans. What do we sell? Beans. We got canned beans, baked beans, refried beans, coffee beans.
Beans on toast.
Beans on toast. I mean,
And the store across the street was like antique clothes or something.
Well, there's also that one that, like, there's clearly a second word behind that signpost,
Oh, yeah,
but it
something
just says
Angels.
Angels.
Yeah, I can't tell what it
It's
says.
hello, welcome to Angels. We sell angels here. When the department stores first opened, Aoko and her friends had been impressed with their modern feel. But in time, the stores, too, became dated.
Really?
She had no shopping to do today, so she passed them by. Screw you, Angels.
Guess she doesn't like
And she
window
doesn't
shopping.
need any beans today,
Yeah.
apparently. What she really wanted to do was rest at a cafe, but she fought the urge, knowing her roommate would never let her hear the end of it if she frittered away her money. Frittered?
Yeah, you ever heard that before?
No.
To wastefully spend, basically.
I mean, that's what I assumed based on
Yeah.
the context, but, like, it sounds like that almost sounds like she was just spending all of her money on fritters.
No.
Like, oh
Yeah.
man, I love fritters. No.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
umbrella.
time is
light.
slowing down. Oh.
Uh-huh. She looked back and blinked. For just a moment, she could have sworn she'd seen someone suspicious in a red dress out of the corner of her eye. Green.
No.
Also, I think I know why it's so confusing how old she is in, like, Tsukihime and Melty Blood and stuff.
Yeah.
Now. Because I think the Tsukihime remake moved the timeline forward.
I think it did.
Because I was looking at this. In Tsukihime
Yeah.
and Melty Blood, like the original stuff,
Right.
she was like 27.
Yeah, that
during
makes sense.
during the events of those. But now she's like 46 or 47.
Oh, wow. That's different.
Because I think they just moved the timeline forward like 20 years.
Yeah.
So rather than being set in like 2000, it's set in like 2020 or something, you know? Like,
Oh, boy.
you know, instead of the mid 2000s, it's now the either mid 2010 or mid 2010s to like 2020 or so.
Yeah, I'll need to check that out.
Is my guess.
Okay.
Because suddenly she's supposed to be 40 something in that, but they didn't bother to redesign her, so she still looks exactly the same. So presumably being a motherfucking sorcerer just makes you stop aging
Yeah, maybe.
at some point.
I think that worked with Zelrich. Oh, and we're back.
Walk. It must have been her imagination. Aoko, honey, listen, this is a world in which magic is real.
Yeah.
It's probably not your imagination, honey. The sixth sense chill she was experiencing down her spine was a familiar one at this point. She continued her walk home, brushing off the event as if it had never happened. In time, the chill faded, and all that was left was the sounds of the town. She sighed heavily. Had she imagined it? Even if it had all been in her head, she was far from comfortable with the feeling that still lingered.
夏場の方ってもう少しこう
Huh.
She grumbled under her breath, annoyed by the presence of mosquitoes.
波乱万丈商売繁盛商業無常と
That's a saying, huh?
そうそう忙しさに愚痴を言っても始まらないわ
Unfortunately, summer and bugs go hand in hand. She could see how bugs could be drawn to all the sweet fruit.
Okay.
Is that a euphemism?
I don't know. Oh, wow, look at that.
Cooking! Fate stay in the kitchen! Rank with grease and heat, the kitchen was closed for the time being. The lunch rush had come and gone, but one last battle remained. Dinner time. Only after the evening chaos could the kitchen crew remove their white armor and call it a day. Have we shifted perspectives, or is Aoko just hanging out in the kitchen? Are we back on Sojiro?
This might be Sojiro's part-time job. Let's see.
In the midst of the war zone was a lone newcomer. It's gotta be. Yep.
Yeah.
これ着るんですか
His voice was uneasy, betraying how new he was.
気持ちはわかる 俺もどうかと思うけど、店長の言うことだから、もう笑顔で乗り越えてくれ。これも商店街の明日のためなんだとよ。本気で申し訳ないんだが、雨も止んだし、何とか言ってきてくれないか。無事帰ってきたら晩飯おごってやっから。
Back in one piece. You see, there's this little girl who lives in this mansion in the middle of the woods, and she's got a really scary guard dog.
Yeah. That's a bad Uber Eats delivery.
His bright orange co-worker clasped his hands together as if to beg for forgiveness as he saddled him with this unreasonable task.
Oh. It's a big hill.
10 years ago, Misaki City was a town of farm and woodland. But everything had changed. The front of the station was now lined with tall, multi-story buildings, and the residential areas were similarly full of apartment complexes. The once rustic scenery around the station had long become a thing of the past. Shiro Inuzuka was the only place in the city that still contained vestiges of the old town, a pocket of the past inside an urban jungle.
So I guess they built up the town around it pretty much.
Shiro Inuzuka.
Okay.
White dog something.
Yeah.
The road extended up a conspicuously high hill.
Yeah.
To an old residential district, far from the hustle and bustle of the train station. Long ago, it had been considered unwise to build on high ground, so nobody lived above a certain elevation.
Worried about mudslides, maybe?
Shiro Inuzuka, sitting as it did atop a hill in the middle of town, was no exception to that convention and had no residences to speak of. The asphalt continued for some time, eventually giving way to a mountain road that was swallowed into the cover of trees. A lone vending machine stood to mark the boundary between town and beyond.
Is that a house way up near the top of the hill?
Well, they just said there's no houses up there.
Well, maybe no living structure. That could be... I can't tell.
Even the children knew that there was nothing beyond the new playground in development that so enthralled them. Well, that wasn't entirely true. There was nothing besides the haunted house.
Yes.
So spooky! Didn't Aoko live in a haunted house?
So does Rin. All the whole neighborhood thinks her house is haunted, that a witch lives there.
Well, I mean, a witch does live there.
I mean, yes, but...
Which probably means it's not haunted, it's just that a witch lives there.
Well, yeah, but they see all her magic experiments and freak out.
Meanwhile, back to Aoko.
Yes.
Aoko Haozaki traversed the long slope. Below her, she could see the whole of Misaki. The symmetrical town looked like a miniature set from this height. It would look like a painting if there had been a sea next to it, but unfortunately, Misaki City was very much landlocked.
It could be a landscape. It doesn't have to be a sea.
While it was overcast at the moment, the scene was quite breathtaking on clear evenings. The view was the one thing that made the arduous climb worthwhile, and today, she'd been denied even that.
Oh.
雨の日は自転車も使えないし、1日に2回ぐらいバスでも通ってくれないもんかな、ほんと。
Oh, bus going up this hill, huh?
Aoko had been using this road to get to school for almost 2 years now, but the journey had never gotten easier.
あれ、鍵閉まったまま？アリス、まだ帰ってきてないんだ。
Did you lock it?
I mean, she must have done.
Yeah, I guess she thought Alice would have unlocked it for her.
With a weary shrug, she put her hand on the rusty iron fence.
Oh.
Quietly, the heavy
Yes.
gate swung open as if to welcome her home. There sits atop that hill a haunted house. That's how the story pretty much started around town. The story much shared around town used to begin.
Ah.
But fresh rumors about the house had sprung to life almost as fast as the town's modernization. Despite being dilapidated and abandoned for many years, lights can be seen inside the house at night.
Because Aoko likes to stay up.
An angry murder of crows often gathers atop the hill before mysteriously vanishing. Children get lost in the fog, never to be seen again. Aoko, what are you doing with the children in the basement?
I don't know, that sounds more like a rumor.
Late at night, a shrieking sound can be heard all the way to town. This particular piece of slander was the one Aoko wished to discredit the most.
More than the disappearing children, huh?
More than the disappearing children. That's not a rumor, that's fact.
Huh.
The final rumor was of an eye-catching luxury car that sometimes made its way up and down the hill.
That feels like something easily verifiable, actually.
The rumors spread and grew by the day. And while they grew, the house that everyone thought had rotted away was restored over the recent years. Deep in a wood on top of a hill no one dared to approach. Like a ruin shrouded from view even on the brightest of days, stood a relic out of time, a building from a fairy tale. The house.
Oh, there we go. Looks nice.
Was the Kuonji Mansion.
Huh.
Everyone in town knew about the witch's house on the hill. The unabashedly haunted house where Aoko Aozaki resided for reasons unknown. Needless to say, it wasn't really haunted. The Kuonji family home was a grand Western-style mansion with a long and storied history stretching all the way back to England.
Oh,
where it was built, and then
transported
to Japan via boat?
Well, probably in pieces.
Plane? Like, I don't think you're gonna fly an entire house to Japan, so...
I mean, we flew an entire bridge from England to, like, Arizona.
It was too small to be a dormitory, yet too big to be called a house. The main building contained as many as 3 normal houses worth of rooms, and was surrounded by a large, all-encompassing courtyard. The perimeter of the grounds was surrounded by a high iron fence covered in thorny vines. There was also an annex to the main building. Given such extravagance, it was no wonder that it inspired rumors. To the town residents, the mere existence of such a lavish and out-of-place mansion on top of the hill was a cause for suspicion.
Also, the fact that it's Western style probably doesn't help.
Rumors, lies, and slander were the prices to be paid for fame. With only 2 lodgers, it was hard to disagree with the perception that vampires must be living there.
ま、私はともかく、アリスはそういうのやりかねないし。
Is Alice a vampire? Is she a true ancestor?
I don't know.
Or dead apostle?
I mean, there's a couple different things.
She put her hand on the front door. It was a grand double door that would have paired well with a brass lock, and yet it was secured with little more than a simple keyhole. Pushing it open with one hand, she entered the supposedly haunted house. And, by the way, if vampires weren't enough to scare you, ghosts were known to appear on certain nights.
Ah.
Like, real actual ghosts, ghost liners, like...
Probably ghosts. Oh, nice.
Much like the weather outside, the foyer was overcast with shades of gray. Perhaps by deliberate design, the architect had chosen not to include any lights in the entrance area. The ceiling was 2 floors high. The only light in the room came from the skylight. It was particularly gloomy on rainy days. On moonless nights, it was like the world itself ceased to be.
Seems a little dangerous not to have a light in that room.
Aoko decided the drawing room to the east would be a good place to rest, but knowing that she wouldn't be able to relax until she changed clothes, she started up the stairs. The stairs curled up the wall to the 2nd floor hall. There was a 3rd floor attic as well, accessible from the far end of the hall. She'd never set foot in there in the 2 years she'd lived here, though. It was very spooky, and therefore... The Kuonji mansion was more or less divided into 2 wings, east and west. Aoko had been given the entire east wing, but 2 rooms were more than enough as far as she was concerned. She had no desire to open a door that would trap you in a storybook world, or lead to an attic that had only been used for storage these last 5 years.